love the channel and find it useful in becoming a happy retiree. Subscribe today. Sue joins us from Athens. Sue, good morning. What's going on? How can I help?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Sue. Can you hear me?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, well, I'll give you one more. Let's do one more of these. So what's going on?
Okay. I have a 401k with a previous employer, and I want to move it back. I want to move it to Vanguard with my other accounts, and I know that the interest rates are going up, and that has an effect on the account. So is it too late to really make that change or not?
Well, it depends, Sue. What is it invested in? Are they stock funds? Are they bond funds? Or what's inside of the 401k? How is it invested?
Probably some stocks and bonds.
Probably some stocks and some bonds.
I would say stocks and bonds.
Well, all right. Well, here's what is most impacted by that, Sue. It will be on the bond side. If you have a bond fund and it's an intermediate bond fund or an intermediate to long-term bond fund, and I would say probably the most common bond funds you'll see are intermediate. So they're not short-term, they're not long-term, they're in this intermediate range, call it 7 to 10-year bonds. And I would say that you've got to be careful there because that's the kind of bond that'll get impacted. It doesn't matter, Sue, where the money is. It doesn't matter if it's in your 401k. It doesn't matter if it's at Vanguard. It doesn't matter if it's Schwab, Fidelity. It matters what it's invested in. So it's never too late to go from one custodian to another. The custodian has no bearing on how those investments will react. Everything depends on the economic environment that we're in. And right now we see rates, as I had just mentioned, starting to climb higher. So you've got to be really careful from a stock perspective, Sue. We don't see stocks getting hurt by higher interest rates, and with one caveat here, until the 10-year Treasury gets to about 4.5%. Today we're still at under 3%. The stock market doesn't get really nervous or worried until the bond market is starting to compete to the tune of about 4.5%. When I say that, if you think about getting interest or getting some sort of steady interest level, interest rates are 2.5%, 2.75%. You still say, well, I could get that on a stock dividend yield and I've got plenty of upside. When Treasury rates get to, let's call it 4.5% or 5%, then investors start to say, wait a minute, that's starting to be a material a rate, meaning that can actually move the meter for 4.5%, 5%. That's when investors start to switch over to investing in bonds again, and bonds become arguably more attractive, and that's when stocks get hit. So you've got some time, Sue, to be able to, on the stock side of the equation, you need to be very careful on the bond side of the equation and make sure that you don't have a whole bunch of intermediate or long-term bonds, regardless of where you move those funds from a custodian perspective, meaning whether you move it to Vanguard or Schwab or Fidelity, that doesn't matter. The funds you have the money in, Sue, that's really what determines your performance. Hi, I'm Wes Moss, and thanks for taking a minute to hear about what's so different about my new book, You Can Retire Sooner Than You Think. So unlike other retirement books, this book will give you a step-by-step guide, whether you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s, to learn from what these successful and happy retirees did to get there. I hope you enjoy the book, but more importantly, I know that it'll help you retire sooner than you think.